Montreal makes multiple moves as they officially send Oliver Kapanen back to Sweden in the SHL, as his time in Montreal is over for this season, but they replaced him with a very interesting name that a lot of Habs fans were surprised to see called up today. Jesse, we got to get into all of that, plus a note on Ivan Demidov being named one of the top, in fact, the top KHL player over the last few weeks. So we got a lot of cool stuff to get into on this episode of Habs Digest. But before we get into it, I'm only going to ask you guys for one thing. Haven't asked for this in a while. Can you just hit the like button? It helps us out a ton. We got a big goal of 750 likes for this video, and if we can hit that, we would be thrilled. So if you want to hit the button down below, help us out. We'd appreciate it. Want to get right into the video, and I want to talk about Ivan Demidov first. Now, this is what we want to see. He has been so good, and recently the KHL posted a graphic for their top performers in weeks 7 to 9, and who else is at the top in terms of players rating, which I'm not really sure what this is. It seems to be maybe points per 60 minutes, because I think that lines up. Not totally sure. If someone knows a bit better, let us know down in the comments. But Jesse, to see this list, first of all, as you can see, there's 5 SKA guys there. Notably, Demidov, Kuznetsov, and Plotnikov, who are line mates, and then you got their 2 best defensemen in D'Angelo and Nikishin. But Demidov is at the top of this list. The KHL Twitter accounts, KHL social media in Russian and in English have been singing his praises all season long, saying how good he is. He tops their players rating for weeks 7 to 9. He is doing everything right, Jesse, and it's good to see he's getting recognition from most people.
Yes, that's true. That's the caveat here. But Roman, he's not going to be able to keep a cap on this for too long. The word's out. That's our job here at Habs Digest. We're here with the Demidov propaganda every single day,
That's right?
Because in this list, he's above Nikishin. He is above Kuznetsov, above D'Angelo, like some very notable former NHL players. And again, apparently with the stats, it's taken a couple different things kind of into the picture offensively. And I mean, to do this at 18 years old, to be this good, have that much skill, but then also that hustle. If we're looking for indicators for long-term success, look no further than that, because that's a hard combo, Josh, to stop overtime. Being hardworking and being as talented as Demidov is, this is absolutely unreal. He was actually just ranked, the accolades keep coming in as the highest ranked U23 player in the KHL as well right now. We know that there's lots of talks, he seems like a lock for the Rookie of the Year in the KHL. Unless Roman Rottenberg has his way, he's going to win that for sure. So, I mean, this just continues, and it's almost to a point what are we just going to see next from this player? Because this guy's absolutely the limit.
I mean, everything we've seen from him so far has been so phenomenal. I mean, his IQ, the plays he makes have been so good. I know you guys hear us talk about this all the time, but it's genuinely fascinating to see at the level that he's playing at right now. And when you compare him to other guys who came over from the KHL stars in the NHL, his numbers look, I would say, even better. So not going to spend too much time on this because we talk about him, I feel like, every day, but it's for good reason. So take a look at those players' ratings, because there's just a sign of a lot more good things to come. 18 years old, by the way. Next thing, though, Jesse, we got to talk about something that happened today. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, but if not, we're going to get into the details anyway. Oliver Kapanen was officially sent back over to Sweden today, and, well, just want to put this up. We will talk about Oliver Kapanen coming up later in the video, but I want to first talk about the guy who they decided to replace him with. You can see here that Lucas Condotta was recalled from the Laval Rocket. Jacob Perreault was reassigned to the Rocket. Perreault hasn't, I don't think he's played yet this season. I think he's been hurt, but whatever. Anyway, that's not the big point here. The big point is Lucas Condotta, Jesse. Now, Condotta's a guy we're familiar with. He's played a couple games with the Habs over the past few years, scored a goal in his first ever NHL game, and probably has the best headshot on all of Hockey DB and all the NHL. I mean, this is putting Brandon Tanev to shame, if you ask me. I mean, he does this every year. If you go click through his pictures, he does this every year. So it's very funny. But, when you're looking at Montreal, you look at who they could call up. The number one guy a lot of people are talking about is Joshua Watt. Because you can see here, though, Lucas Condotta, 4 points in 9 games. He's played 4 games with Montreal over the past few years. He's never been a big scoring guy, but he's the captain of the Laval Rocket. So I didn't mean to click that one. There's a lot of merit there. But, I'm of two minds in this, Jesse. You look at a team like Montreal, you need scoring right now. Scoring is obviously something this team desperately needs. Joshua was one of the top scorers, especially goal scorers in the entire AHL right now. He's got 7 goals in 9 games. But you also kind of think, Harvey Pinard is probably just a week or 2 away from coming back. We haven't heard official updates from him. So maybe this is more of just a quick guy to call up, give him another cup of coffee in the NHL before he gets sent back down while RHP comes in to fill that 13th forward role, him and Pezzetta kind of rotating. But still, Jesse, no matter what, I feel like unless there's something else going on with Joshua Waugh, his scoring numbers are just too good to pass up in my mind, at least.
Yeah, the RHP kind of caveat is the only thing that makes sense of really bringing Condotta up instead of Joshua Waugh. Again, we know 10 points in 9 games for Joshua Waugh. Like, he's lighting it up. Like, the Montreal Canadiens, they've lost their games recently 3-2, 3-1. You know, I know that this team needs a little bit more offense, keeping that defensive structure, but obviously having those players that could put it at the back of the net. Like, for myself, for, you know, that second line, I would have Evans, I'd have Slav, and then I'd have Waugh on that. I'd push Newhook to 3C, where he could, if he's looking to get points, it's because he needs to get at that 3C role and really dominate there. That's where he's going to get his points. That's where he's going to eat. But, you know, of course, you know, Lucas Condotta, it's a big call up for the 27-year-old here. As you mentioned, he's never been like a huge points guy, an excitable young man that he is. You know, he's only gotten, you know, 31 points in 72 games. That was his best year in the HL. So we know that he's not coming up to be that points guy, but he's coming up to be that energy guy that we kind of need on at the bottom of our lineup, which we can use a little bit more of. But obviously, Joshua Waugh, you have to be thinking, like, if you're him, like, what else can you do, right? Like, you've just done amazing things. There seems to be a need within that top 6 for a little bit more scoring. You know, obviously, we're looking for the best for Lucas Condotta here. RHP might be a factor in all of this, but you have to feel like Joshua Waugh deserves his time sooner than later for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, I think it's coming. You know, there's a couple things like the RHP thing I said, like maybe they really want to play Condotta at center, and maybe they really don't want to play Dach or Newhook on the wing right now, or sorry, at center. They only want to play them on the wing. So maybe their plan is to just have Suzuki, Evans, Dvorak, Condotta, because he's kind of replacing Kapanen as that 4C. That's possible. Play that kind of fourth line grindy type role there. You know, I don't know how many games he's going to get into. I think it's also very likely that he just sits on the roster and Michael Pezzetta steps in and suits up for these games, right? And you just rock Dvorak, Evans, say Newhook or Dach as the second line center, and then with Suzuki on the first. We'll have to wait and see, but I want to hear all your guys' thoughts down below on what do you think about Condotta being the guy to get called up? I really like him. He's the captain, Laval. He's an awesome guy. It seems like, by all accounts, I'm super excited to see what he can do with Montreal if he gets that playing time. But I know some people are a bit surprised that it wasn't Joshua Waugh. So let us know down below. But we're going to get into the big thing here about the guy who's leaving, the guy whose spot that Condotta is going to fill. And I genuinely think this is good. Do I like it? Not necessarily. But I think it's good because Oliver Kapanen getting sent back to the SHL, I felt like this was going to come at some point this year, Jesse. We were surprised. We saw him in camp. We're like, you know what? This guy might genuinely make the team out of camp. And sure enough, he did. And he came in and he had a solid, great camp, solid preseason. But is that regular season, like, he was not bad. He was not terrible, but 2 points in 12 games. His Corsi for percentage, which is, you know, team shot share basically while he's on the ice, was not good. In terms of the whole landscape of the NHL and expected goals for, he was pretty low in the entire NHL. Like, you can see that potential is there, Jesse. And he was even getting power play time, averaging almost 12 minutes a night, which is pretty good for a guy who was, just by a lot of people, not expected to make the team out of camp. So he really did a lot of good stuff. But right now, he's going back to Timrå with these amazing stats over his career so far. Timrå 7-7. They can use that offensive punch. And we know Olli Jokinen, the head coach over there, has said that Kapanen's going to be their number one guy, number one center, power play, probably penalty kill, a lot of this stuff. I just think at this point, we saw a nice glimpse of him. We saw 12 games, enough to get us excited to see that future is great, and now we can give him the time, the reps that he deserves to really hone his skills.
And it's always exciting when you're following a player, Josh, and then you see them make the NHL. There's just something so gratifying, and then seeing them have a great preseason. And I did make this prediction on the show that I thought that he would stay this season in Montreal. Like, his preseason was that good. We pride ourselves on getting our predictions right, but it was kind of showing, and we kind of had talked about on the pod as well, that just the physical side of the game, the strength was the one thing that was kind of stopping him from imposing himself. Like, his mind, his IQ is there. That's all NHL ready. It's more the frame. At a certain point, he was just kind of getting boxed out of certain situations. So you have to feel like that strength, it's going to come. It's going to be so nice to see him next year, to see where he's at. Again, his father's the general man with Timrå. He's going to be getting power play time. He's going to be on that first line. And we know in an ideal world for Kapanen, like, and really for him to kind of shine out as he truly needs to, he needs to play with other good players more in an offensive role. Like, I'm not saying he's necessarily a top 6 guy, but like, even getting those third line type of minutes with the Montreal Canadiens, it definitely puts him in a situation where he is definitely more likely to shine. So again, you know, we kind of knew it would be, there was an unspoken agreement that it would be the NHL or it would be Sweden, which I think is the right decision for him for the type of player that he is. It's all about just getting that strength. Everything else is there. There's a lot to like about this player. Like, it's not for sure. Like, when you have a prospect, it's not a given of them making the NHL. Like, he did something amazing this year by deserving that he deserves to be on this team, right? But it's just about kind of taking that to the next level now that we really expect. But I don't know. Like, I just expect good things from this player going forward.
Yeah, me too. Like, he was one of those guys that, you know, his overall impact really wasn't that high by a lot of metrics, but he still managed to earn himself some second line time. Like, he earned himself time in like pretty dangerous situations on the ice. Like, he was trusted by the Montreal Canadiens, by Marty, to be on the ice in those moments, and I would trust him as well. He's one of those players that just looks very solid. His IQ, like you said, is really high. He makes very few mistakes, but like, sometimes it's just like, dang, you know, a guy who's a bit more experienced or a guy who's a bit thicker might be able to win that puck battle, might be able to make a better decision right there. So there's still little things to hone in on his game. But Jesse, I mean, honestly, from what I've seen from him so far, I don't think it's crazy to say that this dude could be a staple of Montreal's penalty kill at the very least moving forward. Even though he got more power play than penalty kill time this year with Montreal, I don't know if I see him as a long-term like power play specialist necessarily with Montreal. But the penalty kill game, the defensive game looked solid. He's got that IQ for it. And I'm just excited to see, you know, in the coming couple of years as Montreal's going to stack their top six. Like, don't forget, we still got Line A. We'll have Demidov next year. And in the future, we got a guy like Xhekaj, where he lines up. Because that third line, like, to me at this point, from what I've seen for his potential, he could be a very good third line player. What do you think, just quickly before we end the video off? Like, for me, I think he has proven enough this year that I'm pretty comfortable penciling him in for like a decent middle six guy for many years to come.
Yeah, the competition is going to be tough, but, you know, obviously would be amazing for him to get that third line role. And I definitely think he can, because he's that well-rounded player, right? Like, he looks good on the penalty kill because obviously good defensively, which is the first thing you have to be in that position. But again, he has that offense to his game, which it always kind of keeps the opposition's power play honest, knowing that you got a guy like Kapanen, who for me, it's like, you know, if you're not careful, he's going to take the puck. He's going to go the other way with it. So again, having that solid combination, I know there's some early kind of parallels being drawn to Arturi Lehkonen as well, and you can't help it. That's the type of player that we love in Montreal. When you knew I was going to say it, when you're bringing that defense, but you know that offense is there. And for me, it's all about just getting that size, that strength, because he's able to score goals in the SHL, you know, tipping shots in front of the net. Just the problem was, and as we've even talked about before, is it's like, that's going to be a lot harder to do at the NHL because he's got the hand-eye to do it, but it's just about getting that real estate, obviously taking that strength. You know, he was just getting a little bit out-muscled sometimes, but other than that, this player is ready to go. He can be a very good player for this team going forward. So it's all about finding that solid balance, which I definitely think he brings to the table.
Shout out Arturi Lehkonen, scored a goal in his first game back last night. I missed that guy, but you're very right. I'm excited to see, and I want to hear what you guys have to say about Oliver Kapanen down below, because I think we've all seen plenty from him to show that I think this guy could be a nice, solid piece moving forward. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like on the video. Like I asked you, if you haven't hit it yet and you made it to this point in the video, I think we deserve at least that one like. Try and hit that 750. We'd really, really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.